Hi, my name is Catherine Hopkins, and this is my friend and guest, Zed Aslam. And she's here with me today to talk about risk and also what risk literacy means to her. The name of her blog for Theater 216 is Risk Literacy, and when I first heard that word, I had no idea what it meant, and so I just wanted to get your take. What do you think that means to you?
Risk literacy, I think, is how educated you feel about taking risks or how much you know about the risks you're willing to take. More of like a calculated approach to risk taking.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like there could be a lot of interpretations to what it means. That's one, and then also another could be just putting yourself out there with your writing, and like your blog, and just putting things on the internet, and taking risks with your writing that maybe things that you've never written before or things you've never read before. Yeah, so that's risk literacy. In life, we take a lot of risk every single day. Even just getting up out of bed and walking out the door is a risk right there. What are some like major risks that you think people face in life, and any maybe that you've experienced?
Well, there's lots of risks people face in life. From the moment they're born and they turn from crawling to walking, that's a risk they're taking because they don't know if they'll actually be able to support themselves on their feet. Um, if they, when they're leaving the womb, that's considered a risk because you're leaving that umbilical cord which has been supporting you with nutrients, and you're sort of out on your own in the world. When you go to school for the first time and you leave your parents behind, that's a risk you're taking. If you decide to go to college, that's a risk you're taking. If you decide to open your own business, there's just risks everywhere that we go in life, and everything we do in life could be potentially considered a risk.
I definitely agree with that. I think right now, like all of us college students, we're definitely experiencing and like every day taking risks and just being here. And some people have to put themselves through college and are working 3 jobs, and I think that's a huge risk in itself because this idea of paying to play, you're not really guaranteed anything with a college diploma. So how do you feel about um, you know high school graduates not going to college and trying to start their own business or taking over their parents' business?
I mean, I like the European system much better where their taxes are higher, but they're able to, college education is free for anyone who achieves certain standards. And obviously, over here, we have issues with affirmative action and people not having enough resources to gain those kinds of results. But if we were to work something out that way, I think that'd be a much better system. But in terms of high school students not going to college, I think, yes, college is a big risk. And actually, what's happening in the market today is that most college graduates with a bachelor's degree aren't guaranteed jobs, but more and more people are turning to higher education, such as master's degree and professional degrees, and those tend to guarantee people jobs more. Um, the issue is that so many people have started going to college that you have this influx of college students in the market, and there aren't enough jobs to support them, whether it be for weak economic growth or just people not hiring at this point in time. So yeah, it doesn't guarantee you a job, but it certainly betters your options because a person with a high school degree isn't guaranteed as many opportunities or options that they're allowed to take to better themselves, like economically.
Exactly. I mean, I think it's pretty much a proven fact that the better, like, and the higher you go up in your education, you have more of a shot of getting a job. Maybe not a guarantee, but you still have a good chance. Um, Besides school and education, there are definitely a million other risks. Would you say starting your own family is a big risk? Because I think it is.
It's definitely a bigger risk because, from the woman's perspective, she could potentially be putting her career on hold and, you know, halting her professional goals. From the man's perspective, it could mean like him working less hours to contribute more time to the family. And if the family decides to have multiple children and they cannot economically support them, there may come a time and point where they have to, give the children away or um, come to come to terms with their living means and such. But definitely, starting a family is a big risk, and originally a lot of families were big because of economic reasons, and now a lot of families are small because of economic reasons. So there's a lot of risks that go into creating a family, especially having children, because of how much it costs and how much people want to be able to provide for their children and probably would not be able to.
I agree. I think a lot of couples are afraid to, take that leap and to go and have children, start a family. because you never know what's going to happen. Even if they both both parents have a steady job, they never know what's going to happen, especially like with the economy, like you said. Related to marriage and family, is love a risk?
Well, I think so. There's a lot of people out there that might, maybe the first time they're in a relationship, they might be very guarded, and it might be more difficult for them to like let their guard down in order to find someone that they fall in love with. And there's no guarantee that the person you fall in love with, will not cheat on you, won't hurt you.
True.
You know, things could go very wrong from where you foresaw them when you first started going out or whatever. But yeah, love is definitely a risk because you can never know 100% of what a person is when you first meet them and you potentially fall in love with them. So
yeah, it's incredible, how people change and how you can go from loving someone to hating them, and especially with the divorce rate being 50%, it's incredible. Just one more thing, kind of related to love, but I guess on a lesser scale, making friends in college or just anywhere, like even like at work. Would you say that's a risk because you never know like these types of people that you're surrounding yourselves with?
I think it's much more of a risk in high school and college because you have all this peer pressure surrounding you, people who could potentially be leading you down a bad path, and you wouldn't really necessarily realize it because you're surrounded by those people. And like in the work setting, the difference is you're an adult now, so you have the option of kind of separating yourself from these people and not necessarily seeing them. In college, it's kind of nuanced because morals in college are sort of ambiguous compared to the rest of the world. So I'd say, like, friendship in college, you can create long-lasting friendship, but I think that a lot of the friendships in college can be sort of transient. Like, you'll see someone and you'll get to know them, but maybe you won't necessarily see them for a couple of weeks. You'll run into them again on campus, and, you'll catch up and stuff, but it won't necessarily be these close relationships you have. I think it'll be many short, sort of personable relationships, but not necessarily very, very close relationships.
Okay, I definitely see what you're saying. Do you think there's anything that these, especially college students, can do to maybe, while they're still taking a risk and putting themselves out there to make friends, that they can, make sure that they're being kind of safe by surrounding themselves by the right group of people?
I mean, what it comes down to, I guess, is morals and conscience and sort of just being smart about the people you hang out with. I mean, I'm sure that, society has ingrained what the bad crowd is inside our minds, and it's up to us to make the decision now whether we consider people to be a part of the bad crowd or a part of the good crowd. So I guess in that sense, we have to make that own decision, and that's part of going to college is making your own decisions and learning from them. And part of becoming an adult is learning who you should and shouldn't be hanging out with. So
Definitely. So I think we could both agree that, taking a risk is something we have to do, especially to get anywhere. Whether it be like going to school or, starting your own business just to like get a job and to like get yourself out there. Just one more thing. Would you say that there is a risk in not taking risks in life and not, putting yourself out there?
there is a risk because there's always that thought in the back of your mind, what if I had done this 10 years ago? What if I had done this, taken the different path? Part of taking risks is you could potentially earn a reward. You could potentially not, and you could potentially, end up failing really hard at what you're trying to do, but you could potentially earn the reward, and, it's like a 50-50 shot, and it's up to you to believe in yourself, to think that you can potentially earn that, and take that risk to determine whether or not, it's worth it to do what you want to do.
I think that's a great way to put it, and I totally agree with you. Thank you for coming on my show today, and I'll see you next week.